Genesis. Chapter 13. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the Negev. And Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold. And he continued on his journey from the Negev as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai. To the place of the altar, which he had made there formerly, and there Abram called on the name of Jehovah. And Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land could not support them that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. And Abram said to Lot, Let there please be no strife between me and you and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw the entire plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. This was before Jehovah had destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Jehovah, like the land of Egypt, as you go to Zoar. So Lot chose for himself the entire plain of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were very wicked and sinful toward Jehovah. And Jehovah said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, Now lift up your eyes, and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land that you see I will give to you and to your seed forever. And I will make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then your seed can also be numbered. Rise up, walk through the land according to its length and its breadth, for I will give it to you. And Abram moved his tent and came and dwelt by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and there he built an altar to Jehovah. Genesis. Chapter 14. And in the days of Amraphel the king of Shinar, Arioch the king of Elasa, Chedorlaomer the king of Elam, and Tidal the king of Goyim. These kings made war with Bera the king of Sodom and with Bersha the king of Gomorrah, Shernab the king of Admah, and Shemeber the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zor. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is, the Salt Sea. 12 years they had served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and struck the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim and the Zuzim in Ham and the Emim in Shave Kiriathaim. And the Horites in Mount Seir as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is, Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. And the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah and the king of Admah and the king of Zeboim and the king of Bela, that is, Zor, went forth and set the battle in array against them in the valley of Siddim. Against Chedorlaomer the king of Elam and Tidal the king of Goyim and Amraphel the king of Shinar and Arioch the king of Elasa, 4 kings against the 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and they fell there, but those who survived fled to the hill country. And they took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food and went away. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his possessions and departed, for he was dwelling in Sodom. And one who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew. Now he was dwelling by the oaks of Mamre the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were allies of Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother had been taken captive, he led out his trained men, born in his house, 318 of them, and pursued as far as Dan. And he divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and struck them and pursued them to Hobah, which is north of Damascus. And he brought back all the possessions and also brought back Lot his brother and his possessions as well as the women and the people. And after his return from the slaughter of Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Shave, that is, the king's valley. And Melchizedek the king of Salem brought out bread and wine. Now he was priest of God the Most High. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of God the Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God the Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And Abram gave him a tenth of all. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people, and take the possessions for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand to Jehovah, God the Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread or a sandal thong or anything that is yours, lest you say, I have made Abram rich. Except only that which the young men have eaten and the portion of the men who went with me Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. Genesis. Chapter 15. After these things the word of Jehovah came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram, I am your shield and your exceedingly great reward. And Abram said, O Lord Jehovah, what will you give me, for I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Since you have given me no seed, therefore, a servant in my house is my heir. But then the word of Jehovah came to him, saying, This man shall not be your heir, but he who will come out from your own body shall be your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look now toward the heavens, and count the stars, if you are able to count them. And he said to him, So shall your seed be. And he believed Jehovah, and he accounted it to him as righteousness. Then he said to him, I am Jehovah who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, O Lord Jehovah, how will I know that I will inherit it? And he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer and a 3-year-old female goat and a 3-year-old ram and a turtle-dove and a young pigeon. And he brought him all these and cut them in two in the middle and laid the half of each opposite the other, but the birds he did not cut in two. And the birds of prey came down upon the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and, behold, a terror and great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, Know assuredly that your seed will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and they will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. But I will also judge that nation, whom they will serve, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. But as for you, you will go to your fathers in peace, you will be buried in a good old age. And in the 4th generation they will come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. And when the sun went down and it was dark, there came a smoking furnace and a torch of fire which passed between these pieces. On that day Jehovah made a covenant with Abram, saying, To your seed do I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. The land of the Canaanites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites. And the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaim. And the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites.